My name is Allie Farrell, and I'm Partnerships Manager at Children's Funding Project. Thanks for joining us for the latest video in our series of interviews with private funders about the role of philanthropy in strategic public financing. Each of the foundations featured in this series have helped their communities advocate for and access sustainable public dollars for children and youth. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Nicole Eovino Diebold, who is Senior Program Officer at the CE&S Foundation based in Louisville, Kentucky. I got to meet Nicole in 2023 when she participated in a public financing learning community through Grantmakers for Education in the Out-of-School Time Impact Group. So this is a national group of funders who care about out-of-school time and came together to discuss how they could help their states and communities answer these three big questions of strategic public financing. So first, what are the current public funding investments supporting our community-wide goals for children and youth? And two, how much funding is needed to fund our goals in full? And three, how can we fill the gap between current funding and the funding that we need? So Nicole noticed that different organizations across Kentucky were already working to answer these three questions through the processes of fiscal mapping, cost modeling, and research on state and local revenue options. But she noticed that nobody was connecting the dots between these efforts. So she saw an opportunity with CE&S Foundation to bring together key individuals from across the state to look at this fiscal data, coordinate efforts, and think through together a strategy for pursuing dedicated funding that could support kids statewide. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's dive right in. I'd like to begin by asking you to share a bit about the CE&S Foundation's interest in public financing. Why was it important to the foundation to invest in these conversations about public funding? And has this traditionally been a priority for the foundation, or was this a new direction?
So one of the hallmarks of the CE&S Foundation is to make national expertise available locally in order to catalyze and inform work within Louisville. And our first foray into gaining a better understanding of the strategic financing options available in Louisville was actually through a report that we commissioned with Children's Funding Project back in 2018, which helped give us a better sense of the landscape. And with the understanding that there are simply not enough private philanthropic dollars to meet the demands for under-resourced children and families within our community, we really saw this as an opportunity to bring information and awareness pertaining to strategic public funding to key stakeholders. We also recently launched a new learning and assessment framework called I2L2, Impact, Influence, Learning, and Leverage. And we intentionally look for opportunities in which grant partners can leverage other funding sources, public and private. So this work very much aligns with those efforts.
Yeah, starting with that understanding that philanthropy can't do it alone, and to meet the need for all kids, it's just going to take large scale public investment. I think that's so important, and that's something that we see across the board in every community where we do these fiscal maps. The bulk of the funding flowing towards children and youth just comes from public sources. And so I love that that's built into your new framework, that understanding, but also I think that understanding just opens up philanthropy to think of all these many different roles that they can play in helping build the readiness of their communities to tap into public funds. So with that in mind, I'd like to hear more about how you stepped into this convener role with the foundation. Can you tell us about the strategic public financing convening your foundation organized a few months ago? How did that come about? What were the goals?
Sure. So as you mentioned in the beginning, with the realization that there were these disparate but related projects occurring across the community and state, we really wanted to try to bring it all together and give stakeholders an opportunity to have an integrated view and understanding of the work in order for them to see how any potential action could be taken moving forward. We had nearly 70 people across multiple sectors and roles in attendance and had different organizations present the pieces of work, including the local cost modeling analysis, which was completed through Louisville Metro government in support of funding the mayor's universal pre-K plan, the fiscal map, looking at public funding streams available for children and youth ages 0 to 24, which was completed through the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood, the statewide cost modeling for early childhood and innovative financing research completed through the Pritchard Committee. And with the help of Children's Funding Project, we took a look at case studies and best practices from other cities and states that might be relevant and replicable within Louisville and Kentucky as well.
I know Elizabeth and Bruno from our team were excited to hop on a plane and come join you all. Just really excited that this event was happening. And I think, you really can't understate the importance of just the dot connecting work, like equipping people with the information they need and the relationships they need to take action and move forward. How did the event affect the participants who attended?
Yeah, the convening was really well received, and we were able to gather valuable and positive feedback, as well as takeaways and action items from a follow-up survey we sent out. The work, particularly what other communities have done, as well as an updated report to the one that we commissioned back in 2018, had been helpful in forming the potential funding options for the mayor's universal pre-K plan, which is rolling out here in our community. We also heard from the group the interest in better advocated opioid settlement dollars. And local funders are interested in getting together to see how we might move things forward collectively. So we're working on the next steps for that right now.
Great. I love that an outcome has been that local funders are wanting to continue organizing and syncing up their work around these opportunities, and that there's just energy and momentum. Can you talk about a little bit about any lessons learned you've had as you've started to engage in this policy and advocacy space?
Sure. I think there were a couple of lessons learned. First, don't assume that work that's related is always connected, especially in a meaningful or productive way. Second, we weren't sure if it was our role as a private foundation to lead the community in creating an agenda. So we really saw this convening as an opportunity to share information and see what the community wanted to do with it. And we're still early in figuring out what that looks like exactly, but it was clear that there was a surprisingly large appetite for the information. So the lesson from that being, it's okay to host something open-ended. And we were clear about that from the start, which I think is really imperative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we frequently get questions from foundations about what are the entry points to get into this strategic public financing work. So it's really resonating what you're saying, create the space, share the information, and be okay with not knowing where the community is going to decide to take that.
Exactly.
Last question I have for you today. What advice do you have for other funders who are thinking about getting involved in strategic public financing?
So this space can oftentimes seem intimidating, and my advice would be to just start somewhere, even if it's small, because it's too important not to. And funders have a real opportunity to play different roles other than providing funding. So my advice would be to lean into your ability to influence and your ability to convene.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Nicole. We have our eyes on Kentucky and Louisville and the exciting things happening there. And I know the CE&S Foundation is an important part of that work.
Thank you.
And I know you're connecting with other funders across the country who are trying to do this in their communities. And I think that's also so important as this movement grows. So
absolutely. And I welcome anyone else too that's interested in learning more or I'm happy to help and talk through things.
Awesome. All right. Well, to learn more about Children's Funding Project and view other videos in this series, please visit our website at childrensfundingproject.org. Thank you for watching.